What I'm about to share with you now will be the biggest change that the Perth Mint has ever seen for its bullion coin program. In fact, likely for all of its coins, because they produce more coins now than they have ever since they started in 1899. Let's explore! And you can see from the headline from the Perth Mint, the first coin to feature the new monarch from the Perth Mint. Yes, indeed. We're going to take a look at a couple stories here because they are now circulating the dollar coin with the King Charles III effigy on it for their circulating coins here. Australia has begun circulating $1 coins bearing the new effigy of King Charles III. Now, this is from the Royal Australian Mint, which differs from the Perth Mint, but nonetheless, this is big news in Australia in general. They released 3.5 million coins to banks on the 4th of December, and on the 5th of December, staged a photo op with Royal Australian Mint CEO Leigh Gordon with some of the coins at the Coolman Court Shopping Centre in Canberra to do his charity Christmas shopping. Queen Elizabeth II ruled for 70 years. Most people in Australia have never seen another monarch represented on their coins. The last time the effigy was changed was upon King George VI's death back in 1952. Of course, there wasn't any bullion programs to the extent, especially with 1 ounce size coins, that we see today. So this is remarkable. Of course, this story with what the Royal Australian Mint is doing, it mirrors what we saw in Canada as well. I reported on that story earlier when that first came out. Australia has been anticipating the new King Charles coins since the passing of the Queen in 2022, Gordon said. Crafting them has certainly been a big part of life for our team at the Mint, and it has finally happened. The King has left the building and is on his way into the public mainstream. We should start seeing them in our change very, very soon, according to this piece from Coin World. The new effigy was designed by British coin designer Dan Thorne. We'll talk about the design here later on as well, because I've got some opinions about it. I'm curious to see what yours are too. Once the model was received by the Royal Australian Mint, in-house coin designers modified the design to make sure it would work on all Australian currency. The model underwent months of testing and a number of adjustments before the final effigy was determined, which is why we didn't see it immediately, much unlike with the Royal Mint, where they had already done all that work, probably even before the Queen died. The model underwent months of testing, and coins with Queen Elizabeth II's effigy remain legal tender and will remain in circulation for many years. That's for sure. There's a lot of them out there. She is the most widely minted figure in the history of the world. Other denominations featuring the new effigy will be rolled out across the first half of 2024 based off of the demand from banks. The Queen Elizabeth II memorial effigy by Jody Clark will continue to be used on some collectible coin programs into 2024, as were already currency determined with the Queen's effigy, according to the Royal Australian Mint. Jody Clark is also the artist that the Perth Mint use as well. So here we have this story. Perth Mint releases first coin with King Charles III. And there it is. We'll take a closer look at that. But the Perth Mint on January 15th will open sales for its first coin to feature an effigy of King Charles III. The proof 1 ounce 4/9 fine silver coin is a special addition to the Mint's signature Australian Kangaroo series. Previously known as the Prince of Wales, Charles became king on the death of his mother, Queen Elizabeth II, on September the 8th, 2022, as well as becoming the King of the United Kingdom. He was proclaimed the King of 14 Commonwealth nations or realms, including Australia. He's not only that, but he's also a cuck for the World Economic Forum. Just thought I'd throw that in there as well, too. The coronation took place at Westminster Abbey on May 6, 2023. We saw a slew of coin programs from the Royal Mint as well as the Royal Canadian Mint. But highlighting that. So this official Commonwealth effigy of King Charles III was created by Welsh illustrator and coin designer Dan Thorne, as we've mentioned, approved by the king as a true reflection of his character. According to the Perth Mint, the likeness rests upon the artist's careful examination of past coins and medals, coupled with extensive study of the new monarch and his accomplishments. Dan Thorne has made an important contribution to our coinage with a superb image of King Charles III, said Perth Mint General Manager of Minted Products Neil Vance. Charles is the sixth monarch to appear on the hundreds of millions of coins we have struck over the past 125 years, although this will be the biggest change because they have a wider array of products than they did back in 1952, obviously. His superbly observed portrait proclaims the dawn of a new era for Australian numismatics. The coin's reverse features a bounding kangaroo surrounded by the stylized rays of sunlight. The coin has the P125 mint mark used exclusively on 2024 coins with the Perth Mint's 125th anniversary. Accompanied by a numbered certificate of authenticity, the coin comes in a display case and a clear lid with an illustrated shipper. The coin has a mintage of 7,500 pieces and retails for $130 Australian. I might get that coin just for the historical nature of it. But here is the Perth Mint's website. We can see that this coin here, if we click on this link, it's coming soon. Find out more about it. We can see there. And it will be offered there exclusively. I guess some dealers will have it as well too. 7,500 pieces for a silver coin is considered fairly low. But there you can see, there is the image of it. We know this side of the design, which is not the best. I like the kangaroo, but I think they could have done something different with this pattern here, the security feature pattern, making it difficult to read the text. But I digress. This is the side we're interested in. It's the King Charles, the third side here. We can see this. Now let's take a look at this portrait. It seems to be, I think, a better portrait in my view than the Royal Mint's version. We haven't seen it in relief yet. The problem with the Royal Mint's version is it's very low relief, which does not really show the depth and the sculpted look. So it kind of looks a bit, because of that, it kind of looks a bit cartoony. This appears to be nicely done, but it will all depend on the hair, in my view. Now let's take a look at this as we see it spinning in this image here, this animated GIF. We can have some idea of relief there, and that looks to be very low relief too. But again, it is a really low. It's a low relief. It's not a high relief program. So it'll be very interesting to see what high relief versions of these. We know the Perth Mint is famous for their high relief versions, so that'll be very interesting to see how that plays out. It does look very simple, with the Queen, at least the Jody Clark image of it. We had it around the circle, around on the inside, and the Queen's bust kind of came down to that line. We don't have that. The image just stands on its own, much like what we saw with the Queen. Of course, the Queen came with a crown. Kings do not wear crowns for their coinage. And of course, he is facing left, which really does designate his political leanings for sure. But nonetheless, we can see there that is the image of the king. Now, would it be very fascinating to see what the bullion coins look like? I know that we've heard talk that for some of the series, such as we have seen now with the lunar series, the dragons will have the Queen's image on it. They've already been produced and minted. I have one of the dragons then, with that design. Will they do a dragon with the King Charles effigy on it? That will be interesting to see. There's some say yes, that will happen. And will the kangaroo bullion gold coins have this image on it? I don't know. We'll see. We'll see how it plays out. They say that will happen around May. That in May we'll see the king's image on some of these other bullion products out there. Obviously, the bullion version of this coin will be released, and it'll be very fascinating to see if they do two versions like they did for the Britannia in 2023. That'll be very fascinating to see, but there it is. Pretty amazing. Of course, you look at the edge of this coin, it almost looks like there's milk spotting on the edge, but this is, I think, this little animated GIF, I think, is the best example of what we're going to see with the relief of the king's effigy here. But I think it's a fairly nice portrait. Although I will say this about the design as well too. If you look at the collar, the way that it's sloped there, with the manner of dress, I think it would almost be better if the neck was bare. It just seems kind of strange that it's showing that with the clothing, much like they did with Queen Elizabeth. But alas, that's not what is the case here, sadly. But it does look a little bit different there. I'm not a big fan of that. But anyways, and the other thing too, I really wish that some of these Commonwealth nations would have just chosen a coat of arms for the obverse of their coins. But alas, that's not what they're doing. Probably too, given the ego of the king, he would be under great protest and maybe forbid it. If you're a Commonwealth nation, you must carry his effigy. I wish some of these nations would just declare independence completely from the crown and have their own identity, because they are their own sovereign nations anyway. So there you have it. Hope you found this video informative, insightful, and educational. I would like to extend a multitude of gratitude to each and every one of you for taking the time to watch, and to encourage you to please rate, share, comment, and subscribe.